Hi, and welcome to Code Tutorials. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the counters block, which is part of our key blocks for Gutenberg plugin. Right now, we're on a page that has several counters added to it, so we can see the different ways you can use this block on your site and the various options for styling it. Since it's part of a more extensive collection, combining the counters block with any of the other key blocks is both dead simple, and you can be sure it will create a smooth, polished-looking result. And thanks to a wide range of options for customizing and styling them, the counters you make with this block will easily fit in with any site design. You can adjust colors, typography, font, and digit size, add backgrounds, and much more. Decide whether your counters will be part of a section or take up a section of their own. Depending on what you have to show and the amount of information you'd like to share, this block can be adapted to cover it all. So it's a really versatile element, and in the coming minutes we're going to explore how you can make your own counters, the steps for customizing them, and what options you'd use to style them. To get started with that, we'll move to the back end. I have here a page I prepared to work in. And as you can see, I already divided the section into 4 columns where I plan to place my counters. Now, to start adding blocks, you can click on this plus symbol to open the block selection. This is where you'll find all the blocks you have installed on your site. So we'll see both key blocks, Gutenberg's native blocks, and anything else you may have installed. You'll easily be able to recognize key blocks by their reddish-pink icons. So you can scroll through the collection here to find the block you want to use. Then you can add it to the page using simple drag and drop. But there is another method you can use, and it involves the plus sign icons within the page. There is a button on the right that we can use, or we can click on the plus within a column. And this will open a pop-up window with a search function that you can use to look for the block you want by name. I want counters, so there it is. Click on it to add. And there we go. This is what the block looks like by default. Mine looks a bit squished because of the limited column space, but that is something I will be sorting out as I go through the options. For now, we can see we have a dummy number, title, and text. And the first thing I want to do is change this content. So, starting from the Content tab, we have the Start Digit field. As its name suggests, this is where we can set the number that starts the count. It doesn't have to be 0. For my design, I'll set 45. Okay. And then we have the End Digit field to set the number where our count stops. For that, I'll put 52. And the counter has automatically run through that range of numbers, so we can see our changes are being applied. Our next option is Step Between Digits. So if you don't want the counter to go through all the numbers between the digits you've set above, then you can use this field to note down the steps between the start digit and the end digit. For example, if I set 3, the counter will count the numbers, increasing each by 3. It will go 45, 48, 51, and then it will finish at 52. So if you're using a larger end digit, this might be a good idea to make the count go faster. Okay. After this, we have the step delay. It lets us slow down the count as it's shown. The value is in milliseconds, so if I set 400 here, we can see the numbers slowly climb. The step delay is how much time each number will take to appear. So the larger the value you set here, the slower your count will be. Next, there's the digit label field. It will let us add a symbol or some text next to the number. For example, I'll just set the letter A so we can see it appear next to the number. This is a text input field, so you can put an asterisk or a currency symbol, anything you like. My design doesn't include this, so I'll clear this. Okay. And we can accomplish something similar with the option below, Enable Icon. I plan on adding an icon to one of my other 3 counters, so we'll look at this option then. Underneath, we have the Enable Separator option. If we activate it, we'll get a line separating the number from the text. This is just the default separator look, but if that's something you're interested in, you should know that there are options to style it in the next tab over. However, I don't plan to use it, so I'll just turn it off. Finally, we come to the title field. It's for replacing the dummy title text you see here. To set something new instead, just erase what's already here and start typing. Just a sec. Okay. And right underneath this, there is the field for replacing the descriptive text. This dummy content here. I want to change that as well, so give me a moment while I type it all in. Okay, perfect. This brings us to the advanced section. It contains only one option, the additional CSS classes. This is where you can create a specific class for this element, and then you can use that class and refer to your element when creating CSS that would style it. And that's it for the Content tab. Now we can move on to the Style tab. In here we have the option for setting the content alignment. By default it's set to the left, but we can move it to the center or the right. I'll stick with the original setting, left. Underneath that, we have 3 sub-tabs dividing the options into those for the digits, the title, and the text. We'll go over them in order. So for the digit, we have the typography settings. It's a collection of different options that let us change things like the font family, adjust the size, switch the weight, and I do want to make my number a touch bolder, so I'll switch to medium 500. After that, we have the transform option, which would usually make our text uppercase, lowercase, capitalized, or normal, but since we're working on the number, none of these would have a visible effect. In essence, the typography options come as a bundle, and we'll see them in the title and text subtabs too. You might not always need or use all of them, but they are a package deal. Still, let's see what else is there. We have the style option, which can turn our number italic or oblique. Otherwise, we can keep it set to default, which is the same as normal. Following that, the decoration option, if we want to add a line under, over, or through the number. Then we have the line height and letter spacing options, in case we want to adjust any space around the number or between its digits. And those are all the options that you get in the typography bundle. I'll close this now. The next thing we have is the color option. We can use it to set any color we like, and it will automatically change on the page. I'm happy keeping the default color, so I'll reset this. Okay. After that, we have the background color. With this option, we can pick a color that will serve as the backing for a number. I'll use this one because there are a few more background-related options that I want to show you. One of those is the background size. So if I set, say, 100 pixels here, we can see how the background has expanded. That's why I kept the color, to make it easier to see any changes I make to the background. And another thing we can do for it is set a border radius. Despite its name, this option simply applies to the outermost part of the background. It lets us round out any corners of that space. Let me show you by setting a top radius of 30 pixels. And then we can see how that corner got smoothed down. And if you like, you can set this for all the corners. Rather than type the same value 4 times over, I'll click here to connect the fields into one, and then any value I set will be applied throughout. For example, I can keep increasing here, and we can see how the background shape gradually turns more and more circular. So this is something you can get creative with to make your counter number stand out. However, for the design I have in mind, I won't be using a background, so I'll reset the radius and the background size, as well as the color. Okay, there. Following the background options, we have the stroke effect. By enabling this, the number will change its look and become outlined like this. And with the stroke enabled, we get additional options for styling it. So we can change the stroke width here. I'll set 3 pixels, for example. And we can also change the color of the stroke and set anything we like. Okay, let me reset this and switch the stroke effect off. There. With that, we covered all the options in the Digit sub-tab. Let's move on to the next one, Title. The first option here is for changing the title tag. The default setting is H2, but I'll switch mine to H5. Alright. Then we have the title color option, if we want to change the color of the title text. I'm going to keep mine set to default to match the number. And under that, we have the bundle of typography options that apply to the title text. If we examine them, we can see they are the same as the ones we've had in the Digit sub-tab, so I don't think there's any need to go over them again. Following that, we have the margin top option. It's for adjusting the space above the title. That will be this here. If I set, for example, 30 pixels here, the gap between the title and text would increase. I prefer the narrower space I had originally, so I'll clear this. Okay. And that's actually it for the options in the title subtab. Moving on to the text subtab. The options here are for styling this text under the title. And the first thing we can do is change its color. We have this familiar color picker for that. Again, I'm sticking with the default color setting, so I'll reset this. Then we have the typography bundle. It's the same collection we've seen already, so if there's anything about your text's typography you'd like to change, this is where you do it. There is nothing I need here for my design, so I'll close this and move on. Okay. After the typography, we have the margin top option. With it, we can adjust the space between the text and the title. This here. So if I set 30 again, we can see how the space increases. Under that, we have the padding option. With it, we can add more space all around the text. We have distinct fields for different sides, so, for example, we can use the top padding similarly to how we've used the margin top option. If I set 20 pixels for the top, we can see how the space has increased. Another potentially interesting use of the padding is to add space at the sides to affect how the text will break. For example, I'll use the right side and add 30 pixels of padding to it. And then we can see that my text was forced to fall across 3 lines rather than 2 because of the space change. Of course, you can also adjust the padding for all sides evenly. Let me clear this, then I'll show you. Click here to link all the fields, and then enter whatever padding value you want, and it will affect all sides of the text. It doesn't look great in my example, but this can be useful if you want to align the text with the title or number or something like that. Okay, I'll reset this. I was going for a simple, straightforward counter, and this is it. However, I plan to make 3 more counters for my page, and I will be doing that now. So you can add more counters to the page by clicking on the plus sign in the next column over, or, and this is far quicker if you'd like the blocks to resemble one another, you can select your finished block, and in the floating options above, open the drop-down menu and click to duplicate. Then simply drag that block to the appropriate column. Now I'm going to skip ahead while I customize this, and we'll dive back in when I reach my 3rd counter. Alright, here we are. I've duplicated my 2nd counter to create the 3rd one, and we're going to go through the first few steps for customizing it together because it's going to be a bit different from the previous counters. I'll replace the start and end digits. And for this counter, I'll set 5 as a step between digits, so the numbers will be shown in increments of 5. Okay, and then the option I said I'd show you later is here. I'll enable the icon. Nothing changes on the page because I haven't uploaded an icon yet. I'll do that in a second, but let me first replace the title and text content. Just a moment. Okay, there. And when we scroll further down, we'll see a new field here. This is where I can pick and upload the icon I want to use. I have something already in my media library, so we'll click to open it. And it's this one. Please note, if you want to use an icon, it has to be in SVG format. Okay, select. And there it is on the page now. With my icon selected, I can adjust its size. I'm going to set 15 pixels to shrink it a bit. There. Besides that, we can choose the icon's color. It has this familiar color picker, so you can use the slider to choose a new color, or you can click here to enable the code input field and enter the hex code for a particular color. By now, you know I've been using the default color setting, and I want to keep all my content matching, icon included, so I'll reset this. And that's all I wanted to show you with this example. Since I have one empty column left, we'll make another jump in the video while I take care of my final counter. Okay, here we are. All 4 of my counters are here, each with its own number and differing text content. Since they're all done, I'll hit update to save my work. And that's it. Now that you've seen what goes into the process of creating counters with key blocks, you can hop back to the page we started from and cast a more knowledgeable eye on the examples shown here. The first example is the one I chose to copy for this tutorial, but it's just one of many you can opt for. You've seen what options there are, so it's just a matter of combining them to create different results and design solutions. I decided to go for something neat and simple while we explored this block, but as the examples here show, there's so much more you can do with counters when you decide to style them differently, or to combine them with other section elements or lively and colorful backgrounds. It's up to you to decide what you want to create with this block and how best to integrate it with the style and design of your site. Whatever you decide to do, we hope you found this tutorial on the counters block from Key Blocks for Gutenberg helpful. If you have any questions after watching this video, or comments or suggestions you'd like to make, please drop us a line in the comments section below. Also, make sure to subscribe to our channel and be the first to learn about any new tutorials and theme guides. Thank you for watching.